Perfect. Thank you, Jacob. Thank you for the introduction to speak here. I always appreciate coming to these sessions and getting Jacob's special comments. I feel like you have a side gig as an MC. If I wasn't married, I would line you up to do that. But anyway, I'm here to talk about three things on Agrib for you today. Quick overview of what we do for those in the room that don't know that. Secondly, focus in on Foragecaster, which is a large-scale R&D project with many of you in the room that are part of that. And then I'm going to finish with some large-scale sustainability programs that we're working on currently and looking to implement here in Australia around producer and supply chain resiliency. So for those of you who don't know what we do, we are a livestock and mixed farming software company. And so we have been in operation for over 10 years now, so getting long in the tooth, as one would say. But 10 years ago, this is what we're looking to solve, right? It's solving that day-to-day record capture in the field, and that now is table stakes, right? The digitisation has come a long way in the last 10 years. The evolution has been then looking back around reporting and compliance, and now it's very much looking forward. Looking forward in terms of planning, looking forward in terms of forecasting, and that's some of the exciting things I'm going to share with you today. But just broadly, this is what we do at a high level. We focus on the red meat industry, sheep and beef farmers. We have a very holistic approach, so we cover everything from the animal life cycle. We're not only beef farmers, we're grass farmers as well, and then of course that business layer that sits over the top of that and bringing in workforce management. The key to what producers are doing day to day, particularly those in our platform, increasing their productivity and efficiency. But for the purposes of what we're talking about largely today, it also goes hand in hand with driving sustainability outcomes. So what we're talking about here is driving better fertility, weight to age performance, animal health, pasture management. All of these components make a production life cycle more efficient, more productive, and it's also reduces emissions. So a whole bunch of that work we're pulling into these large-scale programs, which I'll talk about coming up. So founded in Australia, our head office is still in Sydney, but we are a global company. We've got about 80 staff across the world, across Australia, Europe, North America, and now into Brazil as well. And this is currently, we service over 18,000 farmers, over 23 million head on the platform. And importantly here in Australia, this is well over 25% of all the animals now are managed on our platform. That becomes important in some of the data we're doing in the projects that are coming up. So quick update and background on Agrib, but now specifically on the topic of Foragecaster, which is a large-scale partnership with folk that are sitting in this room, including MLA, SIBO Labs, QUT, probably others as well. But the vision 2 years ago when we pulled this together was really creating a livestock supply forecaster using best-in-breed domain models and machine learning. So who doesn't want to talk about AI? I always used to do this when we stood up 10 years ago with farmers in the room and say, who's got a smartphone? Of course, that's over now. But given we're in the graveyard shift, who here in their day-to-day uses AI? Hands up. Probably about 90% of you. And the other 10% will probably do it by the time they get to the airport. So there's not a software company out there ultimately that does not have or is not investing in AI. So pretty excited to share with you the work that we're doing as a collaborative. There's 4 components to what's called Foragecaster. It is best weather forecasting, so this is looking at long-term forecasting of weather. It's also predicting pasture growth, livestock growth, and also bringing in sustainability and resilience components as well. So on what's actually been released. So Foragecaster has been in play about 18 months or so. We've got another 18 months to go. So the deliverables that have come out already that are in play, in hands, also includes producers signing up to our beta program. So the goal was to get about 50 producers in the month of June to join this. We oversubscribed within a couple of weeks with 70 joining straight off the bat. from our client base, which was pretty exciting. And these guys are there for in-depth interviews, drones flying over, getting a bunch of footage, and working with more PhDs than I have minutes in this presentation. So I'll keep moving, but ultimately the other deliverables, which has been pretty exciting, is the launch of our grazing planner. So this here is full grazing management capabilities, rotational grazing, and our grazing chart. Excuse me. So we released this about 12 months ago. So far we've got over 500 farms using this capability, and almost 1,000 grazing plans. So this here is a tool that's been adopted. Producers now are using this to actually make business decisions. So we're talking about early destocking and purchasing decisions. But also we're seeing that it is now front of mind on the adoption in agtech. 64% are using agtech to optimise grazing, and about a third say that it's their top priority for 2025. Excuse me. The other is our feed planning. So this is a feed planner that we release as well. So we've got over 700 farms and 1,500 feed plans using that. No surprises that we've seen a 40% increase in the drought affected areas using that capability. The next one, excuse me. The next one is our integration with our carbon calculator. So this was a key component of Foragecaster as well. So this is live from June. Now producers can come straight into AgReb. They can basically hit a button and their emissions baseline will be populated directly from their data in AgReb. So about 80% of the carbon calculator, thanks mate. I didn't wear a mask this morning on the plane and have picked up a cough. So I won't breathe too much into the microphone, Jacob. So this carbon calculator is now fully integrated. We launched it in June. And as I said, producers can now hit a button. 80% of the data that's required to fill this is ultimately coming from the data already collected in AgReb. So a huge advantage to producers already using that on the system. The other one is benchmarks. So we just heard on the previous session around those benchmarks. We have these benchmarks already delivering into MLA and ABS. So pure livestock information around animal counts, sale or slaughter information, death information, weights, and a big one, which will now come out of that integration with MLA's SBGAF, is effectively the average emissions intensity. So we can now get that obviously on an individual farm basis, but also across NRM regions. So this will be really valuable for producers to see where they're at from a farm-to-farm basis, but also at a corporate level, looking at supply sheds and supply regions. So what's coming next? This gets on to the AI stuff. So the next 18 months is really focused on some of the exciting stuff coming out of our R&D team. And this is really kind of looking at that forecasting side of things. So think about here, a producer would come in and think, right, I want to look at a 6-month rainfall pattern. I want to look at 3 months previously and 3 months in the future. And I want to pick basically a low, median or high rainfall forecast. We then tie that in with these other components around the feed availability. So this is bringing in pasture quality and pasture quantity, and also around the pasture growth intervals. So you can see here, there's a lot going on, but you can see here that purple line at the bottom is showing that there's actually going to be a deficit. So we are not going to have enough feed base or quality to get to where we need to feed those animals. We're also going to layer in the weight side of things as well. So what we're showing here is how many of these animals will fit our target weight, how many will be over, or how many would be under in another scenario. And keep in mind, this is modelled off the rainfall event and that pasture quality and availability. So this is all of the models based off the data available in Agrib, but also the data available through all the models we have built and run through that machine learning. The outcome here, which I think is super powerful, is really getting to an actual business tool, an actual business decision. So really similar to the previous presentation, where we're now looking at, okay, how do I make a buy-sell decision with this information? And in this quick example, we're saying, right, if I look at a medium risk level over a certain rainfall period, I can now look at supplemental feed, your natural capital, which is effectively your feed base, and also what my gross margin and profits would be based off those models. So this is not live. This is what's being developed for the next 18 months. But this is all the capability now based off the best-in-class forecasting models that are then going to deliver an actual business tool, an economic tool at the farm level. I'm going to move through this super quickly now, but these are effectively the other reporting capabilities at a sustainability level. So this is really bringing in high-level trends around water, biodiversity, and some of those other emissions. We can also then drill down into scope 1, 2, and 3. So this is at the farm level. We'll also be able to aggregate this at the corporate level. And as we know, most of corporates in the supply chain, scope 3 emissions is their largest emissions that they need to solve for. We'll also be able to break down the gases that are made up of those emissions and also the outputs. So this is your fuel, your enteric, your waste management as well. So this will all be the kind of reporting capabilities leveraged off some of that framework that I went off initially. And then finally in this part is, that's at a producer level. We're aggregating this up at a corporate level, which ultimately means for large-scale programs, we will be able to tell which interventions are in play and how those interventions are performing across those large-scale sustainability or emissions reductions programs, which gets me to the actual programs we're working on. And so getting back to effectively the vibe, we are the anti-vibe, so we are all about data. And this is really around our role of aggregating, collecting that information, using this in decision support tools. 1 minute to go, that's all I need. And then delivering that to our reporting partners. The good news is, all the data that's captured in this platform is the same data required for our greenhouse gas protocols, so we are not asking the producers to do anything different. And our role in this is, we've got those integrations, carbon calculator, as I mentioned, with others. And I also promised Jacob that I wouldn't talk about the programs we're doing in the US, because it's Australian-based, but we launched the first large-scale Scope 3 in-setting programs in the US with McDonald's and others that we are looking to bring here into Australia. This is what these programs look like in terms of engaging the broader value chain. And finally, final slide to wrap up on what that means from an economic resilience perspective. These producers that participate in these programs are seeing up to $20,000 of additional financial value, and that's not including their increase in productivity, and the corporates engaging, solving their reporting capabilities and securing their supply of beef for the future. So I'll finish it there. Thank you very much. Thanks for the water, by the way.